A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, Episode 3, is called The Squire, because it focuses on Dunk's squire, Egg. Egg reveals his secret identity. Dunk attacks Prince Aerion, and we get a surprising glimpse of Dunk and Egg's futures. So, what's happening? What's the lore in the books, and what does it all mean? This video has no spoilers for future episodes, except in the spoiler zone at the end of this video. This episode reveals that Egg is not some random peasant, he's not a stable boy. Egg is actually a Targaryen prince. Egg is the youngest son of Prince Maekar Targaryen. Egg is one of Maekar's two sons who recently went missing.
The prince's sons are missing.
Egg is the grandson of the king, Daeron Targaryen. Egg is a brother of Prince Aerion, and Egg is the brother of Aemon from Game of Thrones.
Egg. Egg. Egg laughed like that.
Egg's real name is Prince Aegon Targaryen. Egg is short for Aegon. Aegon Targaryen is the same name as King Aegon the Conqueror, who took over Westeros 200 years ago. The same name as Aegon II in House of the Dragon, 80 years ago. And 90 years in the future, in the Game of Thrones TV show, Jon Snow's real name is Aegon Targaryen. In the books, there's another Aegon Targaryen called Young Griff. There's a whole lot of Aegons. It's like in real history, where there were lots of King Henrys and King Edwards. Now that we know that Egg is a prince, there's a lot of stuff about Egg that makes more sense in hindsight. Like, Egg is very confident and talks fancy. He doesn't say "my lord" like a peasant does, he says "my lord" like a proper fancy lad. Egg is knowledgeable about the Knights of the Realm, like Egg knew about Donal's father. Egg knew about Valar, because Donal is in Egg's family's Kingsguard. Valar is Egg's cousin. Egg doesn't like eating hard salt beef, because as a prince he's used to fancy food, like grapes. We see grapes next to Egg's cousin, Prince Valar. In episode 1, Egg didn't pick up the penny that Dunk gave him. Because Egg is a prince, he doesn't need a penny. Egg said he's from King's Landing, because his family rules from that city. In episode 2, Egg avoided the Targaryens because Egg doesn't want to be recognized by his family. Egg ran away from them because Egg wants to hang out with Dunk and to be Dunk's squire. Egg is excited about fire multiple times because Targaryens love fire. So there were lots of hints that Egg is a prince, but Dunk the Lunk wasn't smart enough to figure it out. But that reveal is at the end of the episode. Let's start at the beginning. In the morning, Egg sneaks out with Dunk's warhorse, Thunder. Egg practices being Dunk's squire. At the tourney, Egg will need to pass Dunk his lance and wrangle the horse. Egg says his father, Maekar, doesn't talk to horses. Maekar trains horses by hitting them with the crop. Maekar is harsh, but Egg is more kind and empathetic. Egg says that horses and men don't want to be ordered around. Egg's brother Prince Aerion acts superior and orders people around, treating them like they're beneath him. But Egg is more respectful. He listens and learns from lowborn people like Dunk. Thunder nods like he agrees with Egg. We also saw Thunder nod in episode 1. He seems to be a very agreeable horse. Then Egg meets Sir Robyn Riesling. House Riesling is a minor house from the Reach. The name Riesling might refer to Riesling wines, because the Reach makes wine. Years ago, in a joust, Robyn lost an eye. When lances break, they shoot dangerous wooden splinters like shrapnel. But Robyn kept riding, even with an eyeball hanging out. So, like the pooping in episode 1 and the penis in episode 2, this is our shocking, gross image to start episode 3. In the book, we see Robyn joust in the Ashford tournament. He rides against Leo Longthorn, and Robyn loses his helmet, but instead of surrendering, Robyn keeps jousting, even though his one good eye is exposed and vulnerable. Dunk wonders if Robyn is brave or foolish. This story explores the connection between heroism and romantic, emotional foolishness. The book also mentions Robyn praying, and that's kind of all we know about Robyn in the book. In the book, Robyn doesn't talk, but the TV show adds this scene and expands Robyn's character. In the show, Egg says Robyn is mad. Robyn says he's a vessel for the warrior. The warrior is one of the 7 gods in the Faith of the Seven religion. People pray to the warrior for strength and bravery. Robyn seems to think that he's been chosen by the gods to be a badass mad lad warrior. He says when it is madness bid, it is madness delivered, as though Robyn's madness reflects the madness of this world. Like, jousting is pretty crazy. Hitting people off horses with sticks for fun is so dangerous and unnecessary, like a lot of dumb shit that humans do. It takes a crazy man to do this crazy sport in this crazy world, so Robyn delivers madness. When Robyn talks about himself, he doesn't say I, he says we. He says we'll be fair, we are a vessel. Maybe we refers to Robyn and the god, the warrior, like God is within him. Or maybe it's like a split personality. Robyn's unusual pronouns are similar to how Red and Beanie call Dunk it instead of him. This show is playful with language. Dunk is cross with Egg for running off with thunder. But instead of getting angry, Dunk teaches Egg how to stitch. Prince Aegon Targaryen and the humble hedge knight Dunk have very different life experiences and skills, so Dunk and Egg have a lot to learn from each other. Egg sings a funny, rude song. It's about Egg's uncle Baelor and Egg's father Maekar, who are the firstborn and lastborn sons of King Daeron. Daemon Blackfyre was King Daeron's half-brother. King Daeron is trueborn because he's the son of King Aegon IV with Aegon's wife Nerys, but Daemon was a bastard because he was King Aegon's son with another woman, Daena Targaryen. But King Aegon legitimized all his bastards, putting Daemon in line for the throne, and Daemon claimed that Daeron wasn't really King Aegon's son. So 13 years ago, Daemon started a war for the throne called the Blackfyre Rebellion. The war ended at the Battle of the Redgrass Field. It's called Redgrass because the grass was red with blood. Baelor and Maekar crushed the Blackfyres between Baelor's cavalry charge and Maekar's defensive line, so they call Baelor the Hammer and call Maekar the Anvil. Egg's song mentions Baelor's giant veiny host of Dornish spearmen, because King Daeron made an alliance with Dorne, so Baelor led an army of Dornishmen and Stormlanders at the Redgrass Field. Baelor and Maekar's uncle, Bloodraven, also fought at the Redgrass. Bloodraven is the three-eyed raven in the Game of Thrones TV show, 90 years later. Bloodraven killed Daemon Blackfyre with a rain of sorcerous arrows. We've made a video all about the Blackfyre Rebellion, link below. While Egg sings, you can hear Dunk puking in the background.
Grass is green in summer, green grass I adore, but grass is red all over.
When the actor Peter Claffey met showrunner Ira Parker, Peter puked with anxiety.
I went to the toilet and I puked everywhere in the production office because I was just so nervous.
So now Dunk does the same thing, anxiously puking because of the tournament. But Egg reveals that Dunk can't even compete today, because the first day of jousting is only for the noble and famous knights, so Dunk was anxious for nothing. Dunk buys eggs, but it's difficult because the merchant doesn't speak the Westerosi language, the common tongue. The merchant has a blue beard, so he might be from Tyrosh. The Tyroshi are famous for dyeing their hair. Dunk makes a fool of himself in front of his crushed Tansel.
You like goose eggs?
Dunk and Egg enjoy breakfast. The director says that Egg is learning that food tastes better when you've gone hungry. He's learning the value of hard work. For the first time, this prince is experiencing the joys of a simpler, humbler life. We see more jousting. Humphrey Hardyng defeats Humphrey Beesbury. In the book, the two Humphreys clash 12 times in an epic struggle called the Battle of Humphrey. We see Andrew Ashford defeat a Stokeworth knight while the Stokeworth isn't ready. His squire is still handing him his lance. This shows how important the squire is. If Egg messes up, Dunk could lose everything. In the book, we see a joust where Jon Penrose unhorses Tybalt Lannister, but Tybalt Lannister defeats Penrose on foot using just his shield to fight with. Dunk and Egg chat and joke. They're becoming close, like brothers. Egg asks Dunk about the hair growing on his balls. Egg feels so comfortable with Dunk that he asks personal questions. Dunk is the brother Egg always wanted, while Egg's actual brother Aerion is terrible and Egg hates him. This pays off at the end of the episode where Egg sides with Dunk against his brother Aerion. Dunk and Egg fantasize about having wives, owning land, and farming. For Dunk, owning a farm would be a step up from his job as a humble hedge knight, but for Prince Egg, farming would be a step down in social status. Maybe the best life isn't the life of a prince or a humble knight, but something more balanced in the middle. Egg wants to stay as Dunk's squire. He wants to get away from his shitty family. So Dunk almost agrees to keep Egg as his squire if he wins in the tournament, but Plummer interrupts. Plummer is the Ashford steward. He says that Lord Ashford needs money, so the Ashfords want to do some match fixing. They plan for Andrew Ashford to deliberately lose a joust so they can make money by betting against Andrew. Plummer asks Dunk to challenge Andrew. Since Dunk is a nobody, lots of people will bet on Andrew, so the Ashfords will make lots of money betting on Dunk. This is a huge opportunity for Dunk. Dunk desperately needs money, and if he loses his first joust, he'll lose his horse, arms, and armor. He won't be able to be a knight anymore. Dunk is not skilled, so he's not likely to win against a champion. An easy win against Andrew could be Dunk's best hope, but it would also be corrupt and immoral. It's a lie if Andrew deliberately loses, and Dunk doesn't want a fake victory. Dunk wants to be moral and honourable, a true knight like Arlen taught him. Dunk corrects Plummer that the tree over his camp is an elm, not an alder. Dunk is proud of his humble heraldry. Later, Dunk does consider challenging Andrew. An easy win might be the smart choice. So this is a moral challenge. Will Dunk be smart and corrupt, or an honourable, heroic fool? The subplot with Plummer and Andrew isn't in the book. In the book, Andrew Ashford has already been defeated by Tybalt Lannister. Andrew isn't a champion anymore. This subplot was added to the show to more deeply explore the themes around honour and pride and morality. A new challenger joins the tournament, Prince Aegon Targaryen. Aerion wears dark, fiery armour, and Aerion's horse has a chanfron, like a helmet, that looks like a dragon skull. Dragons went extinct 50 years ago, and their skulls now decorate the throne room. Aerion wishes that he could ride a dragon, but riding a horse dressed like a dragon is the best he can do. Aerion salutes his uncle Baelor, and Baelor looks nervous, fidgeting with his fingers. Baelor is worried that his dipshit nephew might do something stupid. Raymun says that Aerion only behaves himself when his father Maekar is around. But Maekar is gone. He's out looking for his missing sons, Aegon and Daeron, so Aerion might misbehave. Aerion gets to choose one of the 5 champions to joust against. At first, it looks like Aerion will challenge his cousin Prince Valar. Valar isn't great at jousting, and Aerion seems tempted to embarrass Valar by defeating him. But Aerion wants his Targaryen family to seem strong, so Aerion challenges Sir Humphrey Hardyng. The book says that Hardyng recently won a great melee at Maidenpool, and at the jousting, Hardyng defeated Lord Arryn, Lord Royce, and the Kingsguard Donald of Duskendale. Here at Ashford, Hardyng has defeated 14 formidable knights, so Hardyng is a skilled opponent. As Hardyng faces Aerion, it gets ominously windy and cloudy. When the knights charge, Egg shouts, "Kill him." Egg hates his brother Aerion and wants Aerion dead. Aerion deliberately wounds Hardyng's horse, which you are not meant to do. Hardyng's leg gets badly broken. This is a major dick move. In the book, Aerion even draws his sword and shouts as though he's gonna attack Hardyng. In the show, Aerion just smirks. He seems to enjoy playing the villain, like how Tyrion plays the villain in the books. Common folk throw things at Aerion and try to attack him, so the Kingsguard have to hold them back. It's like when the small folk riot against Joffrey in Game of Thrones. Aerion's shitty behavior is politically dangerous. Prince Baelor came here to improve relations with the people. He wants to be diplomatic, a strong but fair and liked leader. But Aerion has fucked this all up and turned people against the Targaryens. Dunk wants to believe that Aerion hit Hardyng's horse by accident. Dunk is naive and idealistic. He wants to think that knights and princes are honorable. But Egg says that Aerion killed the horse on purpose. Egg knows how cruel his brother can be. This is why Egg wants to get away from his terrible family and be with Dunk instead. Manfred Dondarrion and Lionel Baratheon party hard. They sing a song about a woman called Alys who had 3 fingers. Alys would stick her hand in men's asses for sexual pleasure, and Egg gets philosophical about this bawdy song. Egg says that Alys represents honor and hope, because Alys was disadvantaged from missing fingers, but she still did her best. She tenaciously gave everything she had. And that's just like Dunk. Dunk is a disadvantaged orphan from the streets, and he's kind of dumb. But Dunk does his best. He gives life his all, and that is heroic. Egg says that Alys's name doesn't matter. What matters is her legacy, her story, what she represents. Just like it doesn't matter if the name is Dunk or Sir Duncan the Tall. It doesn't matter if the name is Egg or Aegon Targaryen. It doesn't matter if Florian the Fool or Serwyn of the Mirror Shield ever really existed. It might not matter if Dunk was really knighted by Arlen. What matters is the values that you live by, the legacy that you leave behind. Honor and hope can be found in the humblest people. In a hedge knight like Dunk, in a madman like Robyn, or in a 3-fingered girl who sticks her hand inside bumholes. Egg says that he doesn't really know his father. We've seen that Maekar is harsh. He's not kind and empathetic like Egg. So it's easy to imagine that Egg and Maekar don't get along, and that's why Egg is avoiding Maekar. Dunk never knew his father. He assumes that his dad was a criminal. In the books, Dunk wants to go to the Wall because they send criminals there. Dunk hopes to find his father someday. A fortune teller tells Dunk and Egg's futures. She says Dunk will know great success and will be richer than a Lannister. She says that Egg will be king and he'll die in a fire and that people will rejoice in Egg's dying. If you want to know if this comes true, watch the spoiler zone at the end of this video. Dunk doesn't take the fortune teller seriously, but Egg is shaken. Egg is a Targaryen, and many Targaryens believe in prophecies and dreams of the future, like Viserys and Helaena Targaryen in House of the Dragon. In Westeros, prophecies often come true in unexpected ways. The fortune teller is played by the same actor who plays the innkeeper in episode 1. So, is this the same character? Is the innkeeper secretly a witch, reappearing to dispense prophecy? In the books, there are several magical characters who might appear in disguise. The mysterious ghost of Highheart, the child of the forest Leaf, and Egg's grunkle Bloodraven. In the books, Bloodraven appears in magical disguises and gives cryptic advice, and this fortune teller does have a red mark on her cheek, like how Bloodraven has a red mark on his cheek. Maybe this fortune teller is Bloodraven in disguise. Or maybe they're just reusing the actor. Egg meets Raymun Fossaway, and Egg is all shy. He lowers his head. Egg is avoiding highborn people so that he doesn't get recognized as Prince Aegon. Or maybe Egg is just feeling weird after the fortune teller said that he would burn. Raymun and Dunk drink cider, because the Fossaways make cider at their castle, Cider Hall. Showrunner Ira Parker says Raymun is highborn, but he's also basically an apple farmer. In the book, Raymun is more confident and well-spoken, but in the show, Raymun is more awkward. Raymun has an outburst against the Targaryens. He says that the Targaryens are incestuous aliens, blood magicers, mad tyrants who brutally conquered Westeros. Dunk is shocked by this treasonous talk. This bit isn't in the book, but the rant is mostly true. The Targaryens came from Valyria, an eastern empire that used blood magic and enslaved thousands of people. When the Targaryens conquered Westeros 200 years ago, the Targaryens burned tens of thousands of people, especially in this region, the Reach. Some Targaryen kings were brutal tyrants, like King Maegor the Cruel. Some Targaryens are mad, like Prince Rhaegal and Daenerys' father, the Mad King. Targaryens caused several terrible wars, including failed conquests of Dorne and the Blackfyre Rebellion. The current king, Daeron the Good, is one of the better, more peaceful kings. But Raymun is right that many Targaryens have been terrible, and that's why, 70 years from now, the Targaryens are overthrown in Robert's Rebellion. In the book, Raymun is more sympathetic to the Targaryens. Raymun says, "Poor Maekar," because Maekar is not as bold as his brother Baelor, Maekar is not as clever as his brother Aerys, he's not as gentle as his brother Rhaegal, and now Maekar's children are publicly embarrassing him. Raymun also mentions Maekar's son Aemon, who is currently about 10 years old. Aemon has a slow sword but quick wits, so they're sending him to the Citadel to become a maester. The puppeteers perform another play about Serwyn of the Mirror Shield. This time, Tansel plays Serwyn, and she slays the puppet dragon. Aerion Targaryen is angry about this play, because Aerion sees himself as a Targaryen dragon. He sees this play of a dragon being slain as a treasonous attack on his family. Or maybe Aerion is just in a bad mood because he got disqualified from the tournament, and now he's taking his anger out on Tansel, using the play as an excuse. Aerion attacks Tansel and breaks her fingers, a particularly cruel punishment for a puppeteer and painter who works with her fingers. Egg brings Dunk to help. Dunk sees Prince Aerion attacking his crush, and without thinking, Dunk attacks Aerion to protect Tansel. He doesn't think, he doesn't plan, he just acts, punching and kicking the prince. In the book, it says that Dunk might have kicked Aerion to death there and then, but the guards stop Dunk. Aerion reacts with anger, but also a cold curiosity. Aerion is genuinely puzzled why Dunk would risk everything to protect someone else. 'Cause Dunk will probably be killed for attacking a prince, and Tansel will probably still be hurt. Dunk might have achieved nothing. Attacking Prince Aerion was foolish, but it was also undeniably heroic. A true knight swears to protect the innocent, and that's what Dunk does. He acts from emotion, idealism, romanticism. He's as foolish and heroic as Florian the Fool. Aerion almost mutilates Dunk, but then Dunk is saved by Egg. Egg has the power to stop Aerion's men because Egg is also a prince. Egg is Prince Aegon Targaryen, brother of Aerion, son of Maekar. Egg rejects his cruel brother Aerion and sides with the brother he chooses, Dunk. So Egg protects Dunk, but Dunk also feels betrayed by Egg, because Egg lied, or at least hid his true identity from Dunk. Egg is not who Dunk thought he was, and after all their closeness this episode, the lie hurts. So this revelation changes everything. Will Dunk be killed for hitting Aerion? Is Tansel safe? And will Dunk and Egg still be friends the way they were? Most of this episode is not in the book. The scenes with Egg and Thunder and Robyn, Egg's song and Alys's song, the fortune teller, Dunk and Egg's conversations, all of that stuff this episode is invented for the show. The stuff that is in the book includes Aerion's joust with Hardyng, Raymun's scene with Dunk, and Dunk's fight with Aerion. Those scenes are mostly the same in the book. This episode also adds a lot of fun cinematography, with Egg whinnying, quick comedic cuts, and dramatic music in Aerion's scenes. My mad, unchivalrous brother, AltShiftX, made a 22-hour-long video about Jon Snow with Glidus. They also made lengthy videos about every episode of House of the Dragon, and they're making videos about each episode of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, in a series called Dunk Time. This week, Glidus and Swift have a theory that Aerion's clash with Dunk is actually all Gwyn Ashford's fault, and this theory surprisingly makes sense. You can listen to Dunk Time now on Nebula. Each video comes out right after A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms airs. Nebula also has over 60 more hours of exclusive Alton Glidus videos. You can watch these as videos, or you can listen to them as audio on podcast apps using the Nebula podcast feed. Nebula is an independent, creator-owned site. Signing up helps support AltShiftX, and you can get 50% off an annual subscription with my link. So if you are a true-born Targaryen, sign up at nebula.tv/AltShiftX. Or if you're a Blackfire bastard, sign up at nebula.tv/AltSwiftX. Links are below. Now let's talk spoilers. Spoiler warning. In this episode, Egg says that he wants to be a war hero, and in the books, years from now, Egg does fight in several wars, including the 3rd and 4th Blackfire rebellions. The fortune teller says that Egg will be king and will die in a fire, and that's also true. In his 30s, Egg becomes king. He rules well, and he tries to make the realm more fair for common people. Then Egg dies in a mysterious fire at Summerhall. The fortune teller says that people will rejoice in Egg's death, and there's a few possible reasons for this. Like, in the books, it does sound like King Egg goes a bit mad towards the end. King Egg gets obsessed with hatching dragons, and fans speculate that Egg might sacrifice his own family to hatch dragons. So, if Egg becomes a murderous madman, maybe that's why people are happy when he dies. But Summerhall is very mysterious. Watch our Summerhall video to learn more. The fortune teller says that Dunk will know great success. Dunk eventually joins King Egg's Kingsguard, so that is great success.
Sir Duncan the Tall. 4 pages for Sir Duncan. He must have been quite a man.
But the fortune teller also says that Dunk will be richer than a Lannister. There's nothing in the books about Dunk becoming rich, but Dunk and Egg do get close with some rich Lannisters. Maybe author George Martin has plans for a Dunk and Egg Lannister story. Or maybe the richness is metaphorical, the spiritual richness of a humble, fulfilling life. Thanks for watching. We're making weekly videos and live streams, so please like and subscribe. The next live stream will be on Friday because the next episode is coming out early. Check out Dunk Time on Nebula, linked below, and thank you to the patrons, including John Mouthy, Casper, Cliff Lytle, the Bene Gesserit, Franak Kabanowski, Ray Saroni, and half-Indian Burt Reynolds. Cheers.